Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. Back with, frankly, quickly becoming one of my favorite segments. It's where Millennial Mike scours my comment section and brings on the haters, brings on the questions that sometimes I don't go deep enough on. So, Michael, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you.
No problem, man. And yeah, when you have as much time to waste sitting on the internet as I do, just scrolling through the comment section looking for haters, you find a way to put that talent to good use. And we developed this segment. So in this week's Q&A, we got a lot of great topics generated from questions left by you guys down in the comment section. Now we're going to be talking about Graham Stephans' response to the three amigos, median housing prices not falling, demand destruction, unemployment rising, and much more. So why don't we get started with Graham Stephans? So you guys made a video talking about his video where he said, I'm selling some real estate because apparently that's a good choice. Now, Matt got a little bit flustered, completely out of character for him, I know. But you guys did decide to stir up a little bit of controversy. So his response to you guys was, and I'm going to summarize here, he said that he appreciated the feedback, and that he wanted to make it known that he wasn't trying to discourage people who were jumping in, or who might be thinking about jumping into the rental market. He didn't want to discourage them from not doing that. He did say that one of the reasons he was going to sell those properties was because he owned them outright and it didn't make sense to do a cash out refi. So that's why he was selling them, because he wanted to take that money and diversify. What are your thoughts?
Well, first off, stand-up guy. Certainly didn't have to respond. He responded very nice. Matt went a little hard, and let's be clear, I don't think I would have responded in such a nice way. So Graham is a stand-up guy. So first off, kudos to him. Second, I'm glad he addressed my big concern. Again, my biggest concern, to summarize, is new investors who respect Graham will see that he's selling, even though he didn't say it, but he sees that they see he's selling, and they'll click, real estate's not worth it. And I even said it, I'm going to go buy a chicken franchise. That works for Graham where he's at in life. Getting a chicken franchise or a franchise of any kind is your first investment. Just bouncing around is probably not the motivation. And I don't think Graham was trying to do that, which again, he acknowledged he wasn't trying to do. But I did reach out to him on Instagram, no reply, but I'm like, Graham, if it's okay, we should do a video kind of clarifying that you're not saying don't buy real estate, because some people can watch your video and think that real estate's not valuable. So I'm glad that he brought that up in his response.
Yeah. So for anybody out there who follows Graham on Instagram or YouTube, just tag him in his comment section or go find a post and say, do an interview with one rental at a time.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah. Go to Graham's YouTube and Instagram and say, please do an interview with one rental at a time. I'm happy to interview him on my channel. Obviously, we'd love to be on his, but let's get him on mine. I have some great questions for him.
Yeah. All right. Next question. So you talk a lot about median home prices and how the median home price is not going to fall in 2022. The YouTube subscriber George Padron says, I don't think that median home prices tell the truth. It just says that the bottom half of the market is falling off. Only more expensive houses are selling, most with price drops. How can we measure true prices of houses? Can we use price per square foot?
So, I actually had to read this question a couple of times, and really there's kind of two parts in it. The first one is the median home price is math. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't lie. It just is the number. And we certainly can argue that the median home price is not telling the correct story. In fact, that's exactly what I've been trying to tell people for a year. The median home price is going to structurally go up because we lost the low end. So, but I don't think that's the median home. The median home price is, it's not a person, right? It's not an emotion. It's just math. And the reason I look at median home price is because that is a statistic we have going back 50 plus years. So it is relevant in history. Is it a great metric about what's going on today in the housing market? No, the Fed broke housing. Are you guys not paying attention? The Fed broke housing. It's all these things I talk about are tied together. So you're right. The median home price, because it will structurally go up because we lost 31% of the low end, it doesn't tell a great story. Then at the second part of the question, is there a better way? And I have to admit, I didn't internalize that part of his question or his comment until I read it 3 or 4 times, because I actually got hung up on how can the median home price be a lie? I'm like, sometimes my brain is wonky that way. But yeah, there's got to be a better way. I don't know if it's price per square foot. price per square foot might be interesting in the context of the last 5 years. But as a guy who studies real estate for 50 years, it's not a great number. Why? Because we simply built smaller homes before. It was a different time. So average price per square foot is probably intellectually interesting in a small window, like maybe 2018 to today. But if you were going to try to be an economist and look at price per square foot for 50 years, it breaks down. Houses were just built different, back in the 70s and 80s. So I agree there should be a better number, but we can only use what we're given, and everybody talks median home price. So median home price it is.
Yeah, the best way to track values, as you've mentioned before, and as we've talked about, is to get hyper-focused on your buy box in your area. If you want to know what your specific type of house or type of property you're looking at is doing, you need to start tracking that type of property in your area only and making charts and graphs to follow what the values are doing. That's how you're going to be able to figure out if it's going up, down, sideways, or staying stagnant.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. On the topic of unemployment rising, which is a necessity for it to truly be a recession, which you've called a recession coming up. What would you say, Q3, Q4 of this year? Or are you looking at next year?
No, I think it started July 1st.
Okay. So on the topic of unemployment, the YouTube user with a name that everyone could like, I love my dog, says,
that's awesome.
Do you think the US will see 7% unemployment, and when?
So I don't know what I think I would reply to that question. I hope not. So the question is, open-ended questions like that are so dangerous. Will we ever see 7% unemployment again? Sure, absolutely. The question is when. I don't see it this year, obviously. That hopefully goes without saying, this year being 2022. Could we get there in 2023? Again, my answer is I hope not. If we get to 7%, which is roughly double what we are today, we are in a severe recession. Not mild, not moderate, severe. I hope we don't get there. So my answer is I hope not. I don't see it today. It's not happening in 2022. Could it happen in 2023? Again, if you put a gun to my head, I'd tell you 15% chance it gets to 7%. So not great odds, but also not zero.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's a constantly evolving issue. And again, I hope that it doesn't get to that level, because that's getting to the territory of the last recession, and that's not good for anybody. Nobody wants to see their neighbor without a job. Okay. Demand destruction may be a little bit more complex than you think. So YouTube user CP Josh says, as an agent, one thing I've heard others say is that some of the demand destruction is obviously related to interest rates. We've lost 18 million or so potential home buyers because they can no longer afford. But the other part of demand destruction that no one is talking about is that all those folks who maybe would have been buying homes already did in 2020 and 2021 prior to the shutdown with extremely low interest rates. Could that be playing a role in the demand destruction we're seeing right now?
Oh, I think, again, I forget the username, but kudos to you. One of the things that, in economics, it's called demand. Basically you're pulling demand forward. And he's absolutely right. He or she is absolutely right. There were people that were planning to buy in 22 and 23 and 24, bought early, both on the higher end, like the retirees. Hey, I'm going to go to Florida because I hate California politics, or Texas or whatever. There was a lot of movement. He's absolutely right. He or she is absolutely right. We have had demand pulled forward. That is demand destruction, because you only need one, right? You only need one home or one second home. So I think that's something I had not thought about. So kudos to them. Absolutely correct. Should be talked about more. They are absolutely right. Genius statement. Genius.
When I read that comment, I started thinking about, and we'll go in the way back machine here. Do you remember the program Cash for Clunkers?
Yes, of course.
One of the concerns with Cash for Clunkers is that you were going to soak up the entire market for new cars. This was during the beginning of the Obama administration, where they're like, look, we got to jumpstart the economy. We're going to pay cash for old crappy vehicles. You got to buy a newer vehicle, but that was going to pull all of the demand forward, front load it, but then people would be hosed on the back end. Mm-hmm. So that it kind of made me think of the same point he was making here. Okay, on recessions and inflation, Jessica Rabb Realty asks, if you were to guess, when do you think we will be in a recession, and the Fed finally gets inflation under control? And if they do get it under control, when could they start lowering interest rates again?
Wow. So again, this is total wild ass guesses, predictions, crystal ball, just wild ass guesses. So there's really three. So I believe the recession started July 1st. It won't be validated till late January or February of next year. And I think it's real estate related. So that's question one. Two, when will the Fed get inflation under control? And I did a whiteboard discussion. That is the number one economic question right now. And as I said in that video, I don't know. There are two outcomes. If you look at 9.1% inflation and you think Kathy Wood is right, deflation, commodities, bullwhip effect, and let's say half of the 9.1, let's say 5% of that is transitory and goes away by itself, and really real inflation is like 4.5%, well, then the Fed's job's almost done. If the real inflation is like 4.5% that's sticky, they probably get to 4% Q1 and stop. If, however, it's what Michael Burry thinks, and right now I lean to Michael Burry quite heavily, and you look at the 9.1 and you go, okay, maybe 2% of that is transitory, deflation, commodities, bullwhip, blah, 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 but 7 is sticky, that's a problem. Because then the Fed's got to get it up to 6 or 7%, and that's going to take time. So the answer to the question is I don't know, but that is the number. I did a whole whiteboard on it. That's the number one economic question: is how much of 9.1 is sticky, and I don't know. Again, I'm leaning towards they got to go higher. I think we get over 3% Fed funds this year. I think they raise it every meeting. I don't think they pause until March, April at this point. Again, these are wild ass guesses. I reserve the right to change my opinion tomorrow. But based on what I see, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Okay. Yeah, that is a bit of a crystal ball one. And the final question that she had was, when do you think they'd be able to start lowering interest rates?
Lowering, thank you. Well, let's be clear. I think they pause and the stock market goes off to the races. That's the pivot. The pause is the pivot. When do they cut? Again, assuming everything I just went through, Q3, Q4 of next year. Okay. It'll be a quarter rate cut, probably a quarter point.
So on the horizon. Okay. Okay. Now here's a question that's going to make everybody throw up in their mouths a little bit. These are what we call first world problems. His cash flow is just too good. So Mike Hackelman, no offense, Mike, says, question, I seem to be hitting my cash flow goals faster than unit count. For example, 10 units can more than cover my financial needs, but does not feel like enough units to depend on from a diversity standpoint. Would you share your opinion? So yeah, what a wonderful problem to have. Yeah, man, I got all this money coming in and I'm not even that diversified. Well, what should I do?
Yeah. So again, I read, that's funny you picked that one because I read that a couple of times. So first and foremost, Mike, congratulations. You're in a spot that most people want to be. Second, you hopefully know by now, I think bigger is better, or unit counts is a silly number. I actually don't agree with bigger is better. I mean, Dion tells us all the time, 16 units is more than enough to 3x what he needs. That's okay. You could be done. I will say though, back to the diversification, if you're sitting in a situation where those 10 units are in one building, that could be a problem, right? Because you have all the economic drive. Again, I don't know what market he's in, but you could be sitting hunky dory in San Diego back in the 80s before they shut the bases down. And then they shut the bases down and you're empty, right? So again, if it was all like in one building, you probably need to diversify a little bit. But if it's 10 houses and you do what Dion's done, right? What does Dion do, right? In the 16 units, a third here for Section 8, a third there military, a third, industrial. So again, I think if 10 properties are enough, 10's great. Again, I think you do need to look at the income sources of your tenants. A lot of people, when they have 10, are very like, I interviewed Rod Khleif, who built up a portfolio of hundreds of homes in the last crash. And he got smoked because he wasn't watching the income sources of his tenants. And he talked about it. I interviewed him. They were all construction workers, or predominantly. When construction stopped, he blew up. So again, 10's okay. I would look at the income sources of the tenants. And if it's one building, also you're not really diversified. So that's my thought. But again, congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, good job, buddy. I'm jealous. You're making me look bad. That's for sure. Okay, a couple more questions. We'll be done. Oftentimes, we start your videos or the videos that you do with me talking about whether a housing crash is coming or not. Typically, you have to refute claims that you're in denial about a crash in home values because you don't want one to happen. Now, your typical response is to say that you would love for a crash in prices. It would benefit you, but you're not going to just say things that you don't believe in just to garner likes, clicks, viewers, and subscribers. So Ring Seeker asks, I'm curious about something. What is your main takeaway about the psychology of people based on your experience as a YouTuber? What videos get the most views, most likes, and most watch time?
So, man, that's a very good question. I think I actually responded to that one instead of just one word. I think I tried to reply to that one. So inside YouTube, they have all these analytics where you can slice and dice your channel. I've never done that. I don't care to do that. I don't want to be driven by the algorithm, right? I've told you guys many times, I spent 150 grand of my own money building this channel, complete investment. I did that because I'm playing a different game. I'm not coming to YouTube because I'm trying to trick the algorithm to get the most, views, comments, all. I'm playing a totally different game. If I was interested in growing my YouTube channel, I would do crash videos. I would do, there's these guys out there telling people to stock up on food and all these other things. If you want to grow, fear porn works. And that's what I would do. So I will say this, there's one word that I've learned to add to my titles, and it's crash. I mean, there's no secret. I don't know, 5 to 10 videos of mine a week have that word in it. It clearly gets more views, but I won't go through my analytics because I don't want it to change who I am. I don't want to feed the beast. I am okay producing content I feel good about. Because again, if I wake up one day and I don't want to do this anymore, I don't have to, right? My life is covered other ways. So I think it's a great question. The short answer is I'm not doing this for the algorithm.
Right. Okay. Couple of rapid fire ones. Inca Warrior asks, are there any books you would recommend for creative financing?
I'm looking at my bookshelf. There's actually one book that's not necessarily creative financing real estate. This one was a surprisingly good read. It's How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, founder of Maxim magazine. This is more of a mindset book. That's what really creative financing is. It's basically understanding you find a seller who wants out, and then you put a deal together that makes sense. The other real estate book is by Gary Keller, Real Estate Millionaires. It's blue and white. I didn't see it on my shelf. So those are the two books, but I haven't found like a specific creative finance book. I mean, Robert Allen did a bunch of stuff, but I haven't read that stuff.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to look for a YouTube channel instead of a book, I think that you've done interviews with Pace Morby, who's the creative finance guy.
Yeah, Pace Morby is he is the man. He's going to be this generation's Carlton Sheets or Robert Allen. Pace Morby, yeah, good call.
All right, very last question. Daniel Morell says, hey, Mike, do you ever do rent to own leases? Just wondering what you think.
Yeah, so no, I stay in my lane, month to month guy. I live on my cash flow. It is a strategy. I think it actually could be so this is where I think we're going, right? It was important to have cash the last 2 years. I think the next 2 to 3 years, it's creative financing. And then after that, the exits, like if you stack inventory, you're going to be in a position in 3 or 4 years where you could sell out on a lease option. But I haven't done it. I will be looking for other experts, and we'll just add them to the channel when I find one.
Sounds good. Well, Mike, that's all the questions I got for you this week.
All right, man. Thanks again. Thank you for doing this. Again, folks, if you haven't watched what Michael has done for Valuetainment, he went ahead and created this Valuetainment cut up, had me react to 4 different episodes. So I want to tease that it's coming. And we will release 1 video a day. There are going to be 4 of them. So Michael, thank you for doing that. I appreciate you, brother.
No problem. Thank you.